Welcome, everyone, to the October 15th edition of the Signals
Among
from
some other
Mars
ones. We're going to choose the
live
option
stream.
for login. We
what's
now have the
happening?
login option, at which point we can set all the parameters that we want.
Christ almighty. If it's not one thing, it's something else. I mean, this is ridiculous.
That's how I speak
Oh,
now.
man. Yes, you can speak now. My guest, Mr. Twisted Steve Hoeker, the Hokinator. Have we settled on a nickname yet?
Whatever you want to call me.
All right. How would I call you, Steve?
That works for me.
There you go. We have Jose in the chat early. Hello, sir. How are you? I hope you and the missus and the kids are well. We are entering the fall season here. Not entering. I guess summer officially ended, but the weather here is starting to feel like fall weather. I don't know what it's like in New Jersey.
Today it's really hot. It's like close to 80.
Yeah, so that's
That's New Jersey.
Yeah, that's as fallish as you could get, I guess.
Yeah, it was probably close to low 60s last night, but hopefully the cool weather comes in soon.
Well, we're rolling. It says 60 and cloudy on my computer right now, so I'll take its word for it.
Man, why not?
Yeah. But obviously this is a season that is a big deal for metalheads in general. I was going to say the holiday season, the Halloween season, damn it.
Well, it's holiday season for me.
There you go. So, Halloween in metal or horror in metal. What are some of the first things that come to mind to you when you think of that combination?
The Misfits Scream video,
which
is a really good Halloween-y kind of song and video.
Yeah.
Let's see. The band Fury just released a video today. It's Hell is Here, I think.
Okay.
It's a very very similar kind of feel.
Okay.
Let's see, what else? Oh, of course, the Misfits overall are perfect for Halloween season.
Yeah, absolutely. I will say this, that in the next room over, I do have that on VHS. Scream. It was actually given to me by Jerry Only.
Oh, cool.
So at a Kiss Expo. And
give you
the funny thing there. What's that? What didn't I get? Well, I got
that expo, it seemed like that was like the awesome expo there for you.
Well, we had it was Jerry Only. Doyle had, I don't know if, no, it may have been Dr. Chud who was there. And I'd seen them there the year before, and they had released some dolls actually. And I actually have, I think I've shown you the pictures many times, where it's Doyle and it's Jerry Only, and they're both signed, but Jerry actually personalized it to me. And since he was leaving when I showed up, he says to me, "Are you into wrestling?" And I'm like, "Yeah." You know, we're on WCW, right? I'm like, "Yeah, of course." And he says to me, "Well, since I'm leaving, you know, I was charging people for this earlier, but I'll just give it to you because it's left over." And he goes ahead and signs the picture. It's them four, the Resurrection lineup with Vampiro. And so I have that also, which I've posted it a few times. I don't know I think I may have posted it in the wrestling group that we're in, but
maybe.
Yeah, Scream actually a song that I played the other day. I've been for the longest time saying I gotta get on my drums again. I got to get on my drums again. I got to practice. I got to do, something. And I said, you know what? Let me try the old, the old set list that I did with the Misfits tribute. And there were some things that I played a lot better than I thought I would have. There are other things that I fast forwarded because they weren't songs that I was very fond of, but I did because the rest of the members wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I did about half hour. Wasn't bad for not playing in quite a while. So I kept up with most of it, but it's always fun to play their stuff. Yeah, Misfits, definitely a band that comes to mind for me. Kiss's I Love It Loud video also has always, okay, so it's cheesy and whatnot to an extent with the melted phone and a TV set. I forget the TV set was very symbolic at that time period. And I forget if that TV set is the same TV that I had or that one of my aunts and uncles had. So it was cool to see, wow, they have the same TV set in that house as we do, or that my aunt and uncle have. And that was always another video that always comes to mind. And obviously because for Halloween, I mean, you could dress up as the Misfits or Kiss very easily. So and obviously there are other things. I know that Scott Ian, for example, has been playing his favorite riffs lately. And he did the song Freddy Krueger, which was originally supposed to be in the Nightmare on Elm Street 3 soundtrack. Yeah, that's the one with Dream Warriors by Dokken. And at the last second, they switched them. So I've actually seen pictures of them with Freddy Krueger that were promotional shots for the movie. Yeah, but then, last second, I guess Dokken was more of a commercial commodity. So they ended up going with them. It's funny because all these years later, obviously Anthrax probably has a lot more staying power than Dokken does, obviously.
Dokken's kind of known for being the song in the Dream Warriors.
Right. For a lot of people, right. But yeah, this is always, a fun time of the year. At least the fall season for me is always great because the heat comes down and more or less I could
you and me both.
I can stomach the fall weather. If it could be fall weather all year round, enough to wear shorts so that it isn't cold enough that you got to wear, long pants. That's if we could get high 70s, low 80s all year round, that would be perfect for me. So
I wouldn't mind a little bit cooler, like 65 to 70 is probably my ideal. Like, okay, this is perfect.
We can work on that.
Throw on like a light flannel shirt and out the door you go.
There you go.
That's ideal for me.
Yeah.
No sweating, no bugs.
There you go. Well, unfortunately, I live in a town where there are more cows than people, so there are always going to be flies here. But have you checked out a band called Ice9 Kills?
Doesn't sound familiar.
Okay, because a lot of their stuff is horror influenced. So they just released a video. See if because I have this scheduled for later this week. Let's see if let's see if I can pull up there. Okay. No, but tis not what I'm looking for, my fine friend. Where's this?
But that's what we'll show you.
Yeah. 6 days ago. No, I think it would be this one. Like each video of theirs has a theme.
Okay.
Surrounding like a different horror movie.
Oh, that's cool.
So, for example, not sure why it's not allowing me to do full screen with this. This is based on Pet Cemetery, for example.
Okay.
And this has a lot of like guest appearances from people in other bands.
Cool. I'm definitely interested to see what they sound like.
Let me see if I can
Going by the pictures, it looks good, but
let me see. We'll play a small sound sample to make sure that we don't get kicked off of anything. So all right.
it's pretty cool. I would give
So
it a shot.
they're usually a lot more screamy here, but that
You know me, I usually like the cleaner vocals a little bit more anyway, so.
yeah. So Jose is, and I do want to say hello to my brother who's in the chat. Signature instrument for the Misfits. Let me raise my finger for you there. So the classic from back in the day, the Danzig years when they were together in the late 70s, early 80s. For example, when Doyle joined the band, he actually played either a Ibanez Iceman, which Paul Stanley made famous, and Rick Nielsen of Cheap Trick, or a Les Paul. Then years later, when they did the whole resurrection thing in the 90s, they had their guitars customized by people. Now, here's the thing. For those that don't know, the Misfits make a lot of money, at least the brothers do, outside of the band because they own a machine shop that's made parts for NASA since the 60s, basically, or at least their family owns that business. So, like the guitar that Doyle uses now, I believe is all like carbon fiber, and he's made most of the parts on it and stuff because the guy that made the guitar for him, like he felt it was too cheap feeling that they, because it has like those bat wings, it like breaks too easily and whatnot. So, so they make their own kind of stuff. They have been for years, and obviously, they're living off of the t-shirts and all the imagery as well. Jose, wouldn't Slipknot fit well? Absolutely. Slipknot's another band that would slip well. Yes, that would fit well into the Halloween motif. You've got 9 masks on stage. So
yeah.
that
Never
works.
seen them live.
I have not either. I've seen them. See, and Rob Rowe, I don't know if he took offense to me saying this or not when we did the Judas Priest thing. I said, have you ever seen them on TV live at least? Because that's kind of a joke that my brother and I and my cousins would have because first of all, it kind of started when we went to go see AC/DC live on the Ballbreaker tour. And we got to see everyone but Phil Rudd because the video screen was covering him at the old Continental Airlines Arena at the new Nickelodeon place or whatever it's called now.
Did they change the name of the arena?
It's an amusement
park
on the inside.
Well, now it's Xanadu, right? Is the actual like Continental Airlines Arena an amusement park now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's got the if you look it up, Nickelodeon something or other is the name. They've got the big like Xanadu ski slope, and then they've got the Nickelodeon Park as the other part, and they've built like a mall around it. That mall was being built before I moved to Spain. They started building that in 2000.
They finished it last year or something, right?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah,
yes, Jose. Izod, Continental Airlines, Brendan Byrne Arena, and the new Nickelodeon, whatever it's called. But let's see.
saw Black Sabbath Pantera there.
Oh, you did?
I think I may have mentioned that on one of the shows. And we had seats behind the stage,
Okay.
and it was, for seeing what's going on, like it was definitely a cool experience because you see
Right.
backstage like all the people like getting stuff ready and like tuning guitars and stuff, and it was a cool perspective,
Right.
And I just remember seeing crap, I totally blanked on his name, drummer for Black Sabbath, Bill Ward.
Oh,
Um, could see him playing, and you just see like his back rippling while he's playing.
right. Well, not exactly a young man then either.
No, no, probably still looks better than me without a shirt on. So I'm not making, but it was just something I noticed, like just with every like drum beat, like his back would ripple.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing recently, I mean, I talk about this in the chat all the time that I listen to the Busted Open podcast all the time.
Mm.
And I guess for AEW's event at Arthur Ashe Stadium, they sold seats behind the entrance. So
Okay.
that's what Bully Ray was talking about, how being able to sit behind the stage, you get to see like a lot of stuff like the performers about to come out and when they come back and stuff like that, where you literally get to see behind the curtain at times. So
Yeah, I've had a couple seats like that at wrestling shows myself. Either that, like right behind it, or right on the corner, and you can kind of see like people coming out. It's fun, It's nice
yeah.
to see like different things.
So you get to see the guys right before they're about to get into the ring speaking to one another before they go out.
Yeah, or just like just running in place or something before they head out, or psyching themselves up.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if I ever had good enough seats where I actually saw like too much interaction with the
Right.
wrestlers, but see them like come out and stuff.
The one time we saw them here in Spain, it was the same place where I got to see Priest there. Priest with Saxon and Motorhead. And what they did was they cut off they only used half of the stadium basically. So half is like about an 8,000 seater, which is usually what they shoot for when they do the tours anyways, anywhere between 5 to 10,000. So they had it curtained off. And it's funny because behind their stage, the curtain was kind of open. So you could see when people were peeking out to see, who was out there. You could see, behind the scenes when people were walking back to the dressing room or walking to the to where they were going. It was the one advantage to having the last possible row in the venue because we found out at the last possible second that they were going to be here. So it was funny. Like what seats are left? Well, you've got like 20 seats in the last row. All right. Well, that's what we're getting.
Yeah, sometimes those seats are good. I mean, the people look small, but you see everything then.
Right.
So sometimes they're better seats.
True.
I mean, it's not as good as being like front row, like dead center or something, have people like sweat on you. Well, that might be better, but but having like being able to see like the whole show as it's like supposed to be seen, like all the screens and everything.
Right. To respond to what my brother's saying, it would have been cool to see or interesting to see Def Leppard like that. They used to have a lot of talent to help them with their angst on stage. They would have that talent waiting for them under the stage, so that while the other members of the band were soloing, how do we put this lightly? They were making sure that the whammy bar was in the right position under the stage. So yeah, the good old 80s, 90s, and I'm sure that still goes on, but just in a much more quieter way. We'll find out in 10 or 15 years, but Um, you mentioned being in the first row. Let's be honest. I mean, you have shared that you've been able to go to a lot of different events at the old ECW arena. Did you ever get to be that close? Did you like being that close, or were you like one of the people that like to hang back?
At the ECW arena, no, I never had seats like that. I always sat in the bleachers.
Oh, okay.
Um, and I never even tried. It was just, whatever had my bleacher section. It was a bleacher that didn't have assigned seats, but
Right.
when you went like frequently enough, everybody kind of knew like, oh, here's where you sit. It was just funny. It was just a really, no assigned seats really, but
Right.
everybody kind of had their place there. But on a couple other shows, I've had front row, and I personally don't like it.
Okay.
I mean, I on a tame show it's fine, but I don't want like a lot of times where people are getting thrown into your laps and stuff. That's not for me.
Yeah.
I'm like I'd rather be chilling out back there, and then like all the seats go flying all over the place, and it's like, oh, where's my seat?
Right. Well,
Yeah.
and outside from that, if you're close to the ring, you're just seeing one side of the ring. Where
Mhm.
you're farther up, you get a better view of. If they just so happen to go on the other side of the ring and do something, well, maybe you're not even seeing what's going on.
Yep. Especially with ECW where they were brawling in the crowd a lot. Half the
Right.
time you wouldn't see a damn thing,
Yeah.
and no video screen back then.
Right. Wow. It
So it was
was
just like, okay, I guess I'll watch it on TV.
yeah. That was a million count. Wasn't a 10 or 20 count. So
No, no.
so as far as we brought up oh, there you go. Welcoming Johan up in Sweden, the metal chef
Elon,
there. So he's saying he was front row for Nirvana at Roskilde in '92. It was a battle. Yeah. Okay. So if we're talking about being up front with shows, I got to see 9 Inch Nails at a small pavilion here, about an hour away from me, and I have no idea where they were playing this place. I mean, it may have been 3,000 people. I've seen them at PNC, which with the lawn is what, 25, 30, something like that.
somewhere around there.
Without, I think the actual seated portion is like 15, 18, somewhere around there, and then you
Somewhere
had the
in,
lawn seat.
yeah.
Yeah. So we got to see 9 Inch Nails from the front, and it was cool. Well, there were two things that I will always remember. One, we weren't allowed to take pictures because it was the third date on the tour. It was right before the concept album that they put out that has survivalism on it. I forget the name of the album right now, but we weren't allowed to
Couldn't
take
tell you.
pictures. What's that?
I said I couldn't tell you
Oh, okay.
what album.
We weren't allowed to take pictures because he was negotiating with HBO to possibly do a series on the album. And
Okay.
there was like imagery and different things that they were using that they didn't want to get out. When they did our show, they didn't play any new songs. The next night they debuted a new song. It was like,
Mhm.
fuck, they couldn't have done it at ours. What
Yeah.
they did do was they left USB drives all over the arena. And if you found them, it had 3 new songs on it.
That's cool.
Yeah. And the other cool thing too was the stage at one point, I guess Metallica's kind of done this. The stage at one point, they had these like old looking like machine shop lamps come down where they
Mhm.
were like round with like a metal net underneath. So the lighting, there was a light like on each member, but then there were others
Okay.
like filling in between, but the rest of the stage was completely dark. So it gave like this almost like the appearance of a how would I say this? Like an interrogation light almost.
Mhm.
So I did get a quick picture of that on like the old Motorola phone that I had at the time. I have that somewhere, but it was
The thing
cool.
that like
Go ahead.
makes me laugh when they were like, "Oh, no pictures," and that's like you'd see like the cell phone pictures from back then. It's like you can't even tell what the hell's going on.
Right.
It's
Well,
like it's not like I'm gonna print this up and like make money off of this.
yeah. Well,
You know, when it
they're
looks
leaking
like
it off
less,
the net.
it looks more blurry than like a Bigfoot picture.
Right.
It's like, all right, no pictures.
Yeah, it was funny. When someone to the side would take a picture, we would I would take a quick one. I told you not to take another picture. If you take another one, you're getting thrown out. All right, fine. After like about 10 pictures, I'm like, all right, I've taken enough. Let's just enjoy the show.
Yeah.
So the other interesting thing was there was a band from Philadelphia that opened up for them. They were all Pakistani or all Indian descent, and they were called the Popo. And it was wacky, zany ass music that
Okay.
was just like weird, like shit you would expect to hear like on Dr. Demento type stuff. It was really interesting. Let me see real quick.
Interesting. I like when bands take out like this just a random thing,
Right.
to have open their show. I saw Garbage once, and they had a magician open for them, which
That's
was
interesting.
very weird.
All right, so let me again, let's see if we can get away with just playing a little of this. All right, there you go. The Popo with apples and rings.
The beginning sounded like one of those like haunted house records from back in the
Well,
day.
the entire show was full of that stuff, like all
Okay.
those kind of drone effects.
It
So,
was kind of cool. I don't know how much of it I could listen to, but it was definitely it was cool. Like I would probably own it and listen to it here or there.
yeah, I would say this was probably one of their better songs. So, at least for
It
my
did
life.
have like a weird little Nine Inch Nails ish vibe to it.
Yeah, and
Once it kicked in.
there's like a few breakdowns that are very like 60s psychedelic type stuff mixed into it as well. It's interesting. But speaking of
Have you
playing
ever?
music, oh, go ahead. I don't want to cut you off.
I was gonna say, if you ever heard, it's a guy called That One Guy.
No.
All right. He opened for Buckethead a few times, and he has like this instrument that I honestly I can't tell if it's just a uh, just for effect that he plays it, or if it actually does do like the sounds. Like I don't know if he has it programmed ahead of time, but it's like made out of like a vacuum cleaner tube, and like it kind of looks like an upright bass. It's just weird. Like it doesn't look like a real instrument,
Right.
but he kind of plays it almost like an upright bass. And he just has like these weird songs, and so yeah, I don't know if it's on an album it just sounds like programmed like stuff,
Right.
but live he makes it look like he's actually playing like all the noise and like has rings on his hands to like slap on the tubes and stuff and get like the percussion
Oh wow.
and stuff. It was fun. It was
Well,
definitely
well, look at all the DJs and different things nowadays where they just show up with a USB drive and just
yeah.
pretend to be spinning records and doing all that stuff. So who knows? Shit,
So I don't know.
I've said it a million times. Time I saw Dragon Force, they weren't playing. So
The dude was definitely quirky enough to be opening for Buckethead though.
right. Well, that's the thing. He fit the motif.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I was gonna no, go ahead, keep going.
I was gonna say my friend and I were debating like if he was actually playing something or if it was just programmed and he was playing to a tape.
Mm-hmm.
And if it was that he was playing to a tape, he had it down pat. Because whatever he was doing on the instrument, it really looked like. Well, I guess that's how you would make that noise with that.
So the opposite of when I saw Dragon Force.
Yes.
when a whole note is being played and comes out of the speakers, and they're not even strumming, something weird there.
Yeah.
I do want to bring up the fact that and I talked to you about this yesterday. For the first time in I don't know how many years, maybe 10 years. No, it's got to be less because I did the 2 radio things with Mark. There's a Mars Attacks Radio, which I just uploaded to Anchor, which is owned by Spotify. And, I've been deliberating back and forth for a while now if I was going to do something with this platform or not. I know that a lot of people are against it because of what Spotify pays people and so on and so forth. So, and that's fine. If people want to go that route, that's cool. But this is the only way that I can legally include music in what I do outside of clearing music, which would mean that I would have to pay hundreds of dollars per episode to use people's music. So what I
do that.
I wish I had, I could afford to have that sort of a problem to be able to clear music, but unfortunately,
it's a couple $100. Who cares?
Yeah. Wait,
put on the Mars Attack Company card.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Give them the diamond card. Just pay for it. What do you mean you don't want to pay for it? F them. Just pay for it. Unfortunately, don't have that sort of a problem in my life.
No.
So Anchor's what I need to use. and the first episode I uploaded it like a dope. I was like, oh, I can just import this RSS and it'll work on my phone. And I had tried it a few times before the episode was actually cleared by them. And then you mentioned that you couldn't import it into your iPhone. And I was like, crap, I forgot to look at this again. So I submitted the feed to Apple yesterday. They usually take anywhere between 3 to 5 days to approve a new RSS feed. So once that's up there, I'll go ahead and share the link with you and share the link with everyone actually, so that they can subscribe to it. But yeah, I'm not sure if I'm going to do this show once a month, every 2 weeks, or whatever. The feedback I've gotten so far has been really good. People have come out of the woodworks to say, that they were missing this type of a show. Other people saying that it was really cool. So I appreciate all the feedback that people have given me so far. And all I really did, I honestly wrote up a loose script, because I know that I can talk for long amounts of time. And I only wanted to make like something that was 20 minutes to half an hour so that it's easy for people to just put it on and listen. And if you're a Spotify, if you subscribe to Spotify, it plays the songs in its entirety. If you don't subscribe to Spotify, it's a 30-second clip that they automatically pick. I have no say in what's actually played, or what chunks of the songs are played. So basically, during the episode, I play a track by the Ugly Kings. I play a track by let's see, Edge of Paradise. I play a track from Unleash the Archers. I may be missing someone. I think that there's 5 things that I played. I know that I ended with Metallica, but oh yeah, Suncrow, who was on Ripple Music. And essentially what I did was I mapped this out based on who I had on the show, over the past few months. And basically used it as a tool to say, hey, I'm playing their music at the same time. If you want to check out this cool interview, check out episode so-and-so. It's there. I get to talk to them. So it's kind of a way to promote everything, much like I do this live show to get people to the podcast, to get people from the podcast here. It all ties into one another to help fill people's days with my random banter, and hopefully it helps your day go by easier. But and there are a few other things that I've mentioned that that I'm working on behind the scenes. If you're a member of the Patreon exclusive podcast, I've actually spilled the beans on the other 2 projects that I'm looking into. But we'll see. I did a test run tonight. It's up there on social media anyway. I did a test run for Fireside tonight, and there's still some quirks. I did like 10 minutes of broadcasting on that. The cool thing that Fireside will allot me that it's similar to this in the sense that there's a lot of audience participation. The difference is that when you're in the audience, at the moment, you can only use your phone to use the app. So your phone is going to have a mic and it's going to have a camera. So if there's people that want to come up on stage and talk, they request to come up on stage and you can approve it. And they go up, and then you could have, I could pull you up on stage, or I could pull any of the people that are in the chat up on stage without needing to send links or without having to do any of that sort of thing. So it's just another way to try and expand what I do and bring more people in. I love all you guys that are in Patreon. I just like to grow the family some more. That's all.
No, absolutely. And I want you to be able to too.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when you get in early on an artist, and they're your band.
Right.
And then people are mad when they make it big, and I'm happy for them. I'm like, this is awesome. Yeah. They're finally getting the recognition they deserve. So it's exactly how I feel about you. I want you to get that Mars Attacks company credit card.
Well, by that time, I'm sure Topps would sue me over the name, but we'll see. Yeah,
the VMR company card. How about that?
There you go. The VMR IT company card for all your web design and audio editing needs. Let's see, so my brother's chiming in with, Victor, you and Domenica should have a show if you ever need to fill dead air. Domenica's my brother's sister-in-law, who's also a YouTuber. She does cosmetic videos, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I need to speak to my publicist, my nephew, to see if that's a prudent move or not. He seems to like giving. he likes being people's biggest cheerleaders when it comes to all the streaming stuff. So I got to see if the other Victor thinks that that's a good move or not. And I'm saying that in a jocular manner. So anyway.
They have competition for being people's cheerleader.
No, my
and sharing and stuff.
Well, I obviously again the guy the guys that are in my Patreon are obviously the biggest cheerleaders. I mean, you and Jeremy and Brad. When it comes to doing things on social media, there's Bill Elam, there's Rob Rowe as well, who's no longer in Patreon, but he still shares my stuff. So there's like a handful of people that share a lot of what I do, and that's awesome. You know, I get it. I say it all the time that I understand not everyone wants to be in Patreon, but there are others that just like to listen and share the episodes, and that's cool too. That still helps. Today I was kind of fumbling before I came on. I almost logged in late because I was trying to do a last minute post, and I noticed on Instagram that Phil Rind of Sacred Reich reposted something that I posted. I interviewed him late last year and posted, I think it may have been the beginning of this year, but anyway, doing a crazy amount of work on my website this week. I set something up that would go in and share essentially 10 posts, 10 or not 10, 100 podcasts that had previously come out. And that was one of them. He saw that and he shared it on the Sacred Reich page and on his page, which to me is beyond cool because that's someone that I wanted to interview for years. So to have him do that to me was great. So yes, little Victor's proud to have an uncle on the air. And I like after the shows where a lot of times Victor, my nephew, will want to talk to me and want to talk behind the scenes things about the show and listeners and viewers. And then he'll want to talk about different music things. It's funny. He's going to be Brian Johnson for Halloween. The first time I saw it, I couldn't stop laughing. He looked so fun. Yeah.
How old is he?
He's going to be 10 in December.
Well, that makes it even better.
Yeah.
He's a little kid being Brian Johnson.
Absolutely. So it's funny because the last time we spoke, he asked me, he said, who's more popular? I said, he's going to be 10. I know he's still 9. He's going to be 10 December 28th. Don't make me raise my finger. So he asked me, he says, Uncle Victor, who's more popular, Brian Johnson or Bon Scott? I'm like, whoa, that's a question that
every 9-year-old asks that.
Yeah, there have been fights for years, over these kind of things. So I'm like, well, personal preference. I go, but if we want to talk about sheer album sales, Brian Johnson has sold more albums, but maybe there are more songs by Bon Scott that people know. I said it really all depends on a lot of things, but I mean, people know a lot of songs by each guy. I mean, I think that easily, I think from each era, maybe 10 songs by each singer people know easily off the top of their head, like if they remotely know hard rock and metal music.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, I would think like the average person probably doesn't even know that there's 2 different singers.
Correct. That's another thing that I always talk about, how people don't understand that when these bands do these stadium shows, they're usually filled with casual fans. So although some bands like AC/DC or Metallica do rotate their sets, AC/DC does from tour to tour, Metallica does every night, they tend to swap in and out like deeper cuts to make the diehards happy. AC/DC does that. But they still have to play Hell's Bells and Highway to Hell and Back in Black and things like that. So it's funny that people will criticize them for that, but hey, they've made their living off of this. They need to make, unfortunately, the majority of the fan base that's there to see them happy, not just 2 or 3 people.
Yeah, if only like the hardcores could have a ticket to the show, they wouldn't be selling out like Giant Stadium or
Right.
you know, I don't even know if they could sell out like trying to think, the Stone Pony. You have like these diehard fans that are like, don't play Back in Black, don't play this.
Well,
You got to play like
here's my
deep cuts or
suggestion.
nothing.
Well, here's my suggestion to that. And I don't understand why bands haven't done this. The Rolling Stones did this on one tour in the 90s. They would play a stadium show. After the stadium show, they would go to like a small like club or bar in New York, charge like $1,000 a pop. And then they would do a third show the next night. And that show in the small, intimate places, they would only play deep cuts, and they would say it right off the bat. This is only going to be a deep cut show. So it's only going to be for the diehards. It's only going to be for 200 people. So if you want to hear all those songs, if you want to hear Captain Howdy, which isn't usually played, then that means you got to go to the small club, pay $1,000 per person, and we'll play that for you. And that's why I think a lot of these older bands are missing the mark and going out and doing some of these tours where they've got half empty arenas because, well, they're just going to do, they're not rotating any of their set list,
Right.
They're playing the same 15 songs they've been playing since 1982. So, and they're wondering why ticket sales are dwindling. Well, people kind of want to see more than one new song and one song from your back catalog, So do one of these shows. You charge a boatload of money, which makes it worth your while, and you do that stuff. Kiss with the Cruise was doing that initially, where they would play all of these deeper cuts for people. And on the last tour, all they did was the hits. And I complained online. I said, this is kind of bullshit. If I'm paying $6,000 to $8,000 or a lot more for a ticket, I want to see a special show. I don't want to see them just do the same old where I could have paid $100 to see them.
And I would think the Kiss Cruise would probably be diehard Kiss fans.
Yeah, you're not going to get a soccer.
Your casual you're not getting your cruise person that's like, oh, we always go on cruises. Let's do this cruise.
Yeah.
So I would think that, that would be where I'd get like the deep cuts. Who people being pissed.
Who did that for a tour? Def Leppard. Def Leppard tried to do, and a lot of bands have tried doing the cruise thing. Kiss is like one of the only ones that I know of that have done their own tour or their own cruise, but obviously they always bring other bands with them. They've had Steel Panther and Skid Row and Fozzy and different things like that. And as a result, Chris Jericho has done his own cruise now. But what does he do? He mixes music with wrestling there. So he's bringing two crowds together. And comedy, yeah. And you're getting a little of everything. So you're filling that out. But Def Leppard tried to do that. And this is the cruise where Jimmy Bain of Last in Line died, actually. He died on the cruise.
Okay. I remember that. I forgot what cruise it was, but okay.
It was the Def Leppard cruise. Because Vivian Campbell is in Def Leppard. Last in Line had played the night before. He went on the cruise. They were supposed to play, I think, one of the nights as well. But the problem is they couldn't sell enough tickets. So half of the cruise was Def Leppard and half was just a regular cruise. So you had people complaining about the noise, people complaining about the music, people complaining about the other people that were on board because they had no recollection that they were going to be on a Def Leppard cruise, basically.
It sounds like a nightmare waiting to happen.
Absolutely. And then couple that with the fact that they had to go into a port they weren't scheduled to go into because they found the next day they found Jimmy Bain dead in bed. He had cancer.
So sad.
Yeah, and he passed away in his sleep. So just a weird situation. You would think that at this level too, they would have some type of marketing people that would know how to point them in the right direction for this stuff because yes, Def Leppard has sold more albums than Kiss. Hysteria alone has sold more albums than Kiss. But do they have the same diehard following?
I wouldn't think so.
I wouldn't think so either.
I mean, I could be wrong, but
no, but I think it comes down to what we're saying. I think they have a lot of casual fans. They have a lot of, soccer moms that are looking to win tickets off of Z100, when they play Pour Some Sugar on Me.
right.
But they're not there to hear Die Hard the Hunter, or Billy's Got a Gun or, stuff like that. So, for example, when they do their Vegas shows, when they've done their Vegas shows, it's been like that. I have a DVD of theirs that they did the Viva Hysteria DVD or Blu-ray. I've watched the second Blu-ray once, and that Blu-ray is them playing Hysteria. The first Blu-ray is 2 hours of them playing stuff from before they got signed all the way up to Pyromania. And that's what I wanted. I didn't want to hear, the hits that we've already heard a million times or that we've seen in other, DVDs already. I wanted something different.
Yeah.
So I've watched the ever living crap out of that stuff as a result. So, go ahead.
I was just gonna. I like the random stuff too. I'm not necessarily Def Leppard, but because I am just a casual fan of theirs
Right.
myself. So I if I went, I would probably be disappointed if I didn't hear the songs that we all know from the radio.
Right.
Personally, but I also probably wouldn't go see Def Leppard. Like I probably wouldn't buy a ticket. I would go see Def Leppard, but
Mhm.
it wouldn't be I wouldn't go see them if they were like the main thing and there was no other band that I was really familiar with to go see. And
But-
I'm sure I always hear how amazing they are. So it's nothing against them whatsoever.
Mhm.
It's just for me personally, I wouldn't go out of my way to go see them.
Right. And let's face the facts. The most of their tours over the last few years, it's been them with Journey, with Foreigner, with Kiss. This stadium tour that they're doing is Def Leppard, Motley Crue, Poison, Joan Jett, and I think not Dirty Honey, but it's another like newer band. This is the opener.
Yeah,
but to
that
my
would probably, I wasn't planning on going because I just don't really go to that many shows anymore.
right,
But that would probably be how I would see Def Leppard. 'Cause
right.
I've never seen Poison, and they've always been one of my favorite bands. I've just never seen them live. So I would see them. I would see Motley Crue, who I've seen a bunch of times. So, and Joan Jett, I saw her at WrestleMania, but never an actual like full blown tour.
Yeah.
But that would probably be how I would see Def Leppard, or if they were headlining, I might say, okay, after Motley Crue, I'm heading out and beating traffic.
So I got to see Poison once on the Rock Never Stops tour. It was Poison, Warrant, Enough's Enough, and Quiet Riot.
Okay.
My goal there was to see Quiet Riot, which is a band that I've always loved up until a certain point where the ship just went off a waterfall, or however you want to say it, or went into a whirlpool in the middle of the ocean, got eaten up by the Kraken, whatever. But I thought that Poison put on a good show. I was surprised. And it was better than I expected. I thought Warrant was okay. I thought Enough's Enough was all right. But I was happy seeing Quiet Riot. It was with the classic lineup. That was the last tour they did with that Mental Health lineup. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
So let's see. So my brother's saying money not being an object. Who would you pay money to see play deep cuts? All things considered. Well, I mean, for me, it's easy. It's either going to be Kiss or Iron Maiden, or maybe even Ozzy. But to me, it would come down to whether the show would be a train wreck or not. Because the first time I got to see Kiss was during one of their farewell tours with Ace, and Peter, and it was dreadful. So I never want to see a show like that. Or Marilyn Manson. The one time I got to see Marilyn Manson, fucker comes out last 20 minutes of the show, just him in a blue Stratocaster, just strumming away. Sweet dreams. Like, are you kidding me? He did Sweet Dreams, Beautiful People, and some other nonsense, just him and a Telecaster. I was like, let's get in line. Let's get in front of the stage to see Suicidal Tendencies. This is like one of these things where I need a palate cleanser right now. This can't be it.
Anything.
Anything, yes. Just get me away from here. And it was someone who I wanted to see for the longest time. Because if I think about it, I've seen Metallica several times, and they always play something, that I've never seen them play before, because they always rotate stuff.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, I wouldn't pay top dollar for that because I know I'd see it anyway.
Right.
Motley Crue, the way that Vince Neil sings, I would not play top dollar to hear every 10 seconds.
Yeah, I'm not paying top dollar to sing the songs better myself.
Yes, there you go. To sing,
or where I'm singing more of the songs than he is.
Yes, I forget what comedian said, next time I see a singer put out a mic over the crowd, I'm gonna say, you sing, motherfucker. I'm paying to see you sing. Why should I come here to do your job?
Sounds like a Don Jamieson or Jim Brewer joke.
It could be, but that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
Ozzy in optimal conditions. If we could get him away from the same set list that he's always done, to see him throw in songs that he hasn't played in decades, I'd love that stuff. That's that's like when Zach was just on Talking Metal, he mentions that Ozzy asked him, do you want to open up with something special for the fans? And he goes, yeah, how about Hole in the Sky? And Ozzy says to him, you don't like me very much, do you? He says, I would be dead in a few days.
You're trying to kill me, Zach.
You're trying to kill me, yeah. That's great, because that obviously was sung in such a high pitch back in the 70s that I mean, for him to pull it off now would be next to impossible. But look at what David Coverdale, who I'm not a fan of in any shape or form, unfortunately, for all of you Whitesnake fans out there. He's got Dino Jaravicius, I think his name is, from Animal Drive, and he did a project with George Lynch called Dirty Shirley, I think it's called. The guy's got an amazing voice, and during the pandemic, he's done several classic Whitesnake songs, covered them with Mike Portnoy and other big time musicians. And so you can tell that he can do the stuff. So, Whitesnake now has 8 members, and Dino's going to join the band. to play keyboards and also sing on every song. But okay.
Need somebody to hit that still of the night like high note.
There you go. Coverdale. The lights will go out. The light will be on Coverdale. He'll be miming it, but Dino will be in the back singing it. So, who would you pay big money to see in like a small engagement like that?
Are we saying strictly deep cuts or like just for a small venue, like a very intimate venue?
Either one. Dealer's choice. Whatever you want to share.
I of course would say Twisted Sister, but they mix it up somewhat. They'll throw in songs here or there, but I would, I'll take any Twisted Sister you give me.
Right.
To no shock to anyone. But Overkill would be really cool.
Okay.
To get like a deep cuts album, which they're another one that's pretty good about playing.
Right.
A couple random things here and there.
Yep.
I'm trying to think. This is nobody's really coming to mind to like play like deep cuts, but for like an intimate setting, I would go with Twisted Sister again. Which for a while it's pretty much what you had with Twisted Sister doing small venues.
Right.
Stuff. I'll consider that intimate, but I would love to see Alanis in like a super intimate setting, like if she was at the Saint.
Mm-hmm.
Or something where it holds 100 people tops.
Right.
Anytime I've seen a show there, it's just really cool and intimate, and it's like you feel like you won a contest. That's how few people there are in there.
Right.
So that would be awesome, because the last time I saw her, she was at the it's a venue in Morristown. It's they do like stage shows and stuff.
Mayo or whatever it's called.
Yeah, that's it. It was just her and her two guitarists, and they kind of did like just acoustic versions of like all the songs, but that was probably one of the best times I've seen her.
Right.
And it's a pretty small venue. I want to say it's 1,000 people, maybe.
Right.
So that's still a pretty small venue.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just so cool. It was almost like a storyteller's, where it was just like she was just talking to people in the crowd and stuff, and like you could hear everyone like asking questions or something. She would interact with them, and it was just really, really cool. So I would go for any kind of intimate thing like that.
Right. So
and
go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say I was lucky enough to see on my honeymoon. I've told this story a million times as well. Ace Frehley in the Viper Room at in LA. And it was funny because I saw on Twitter Ace Frehley closing out the Sunset Strip Music Fest. And it said only 200 people, $11 per ticket. I'm like, oh, okay. So I remember as clear as day, my wife coming in through the door at the house that where we used to live, and saying, "Oh, by the way, we're going to see Ace Frehley on our honeymoon." And the first question was, "How much the tickets cost?" Like $11 each. Oh, okay, cool. So, and then we're in there again. No cameras. I had a smartphone by this time. But I was scared to take it out, because I had been told that they were pretty strict with doing that kind of stuff there, with allowing people to have cameras, and that they would throw people out. So hey, Jeremy has just joined us. Cool.
At least you're only out $22 though.
Right. Well,
or your wife would be like, I'm not with him, and stay and watch the show.
So anyway, the way that the whiskey is set up is there's a stage and there's two booths off to the left, and the booths were roped off. And my wife says, well, who's going to be at the booth? And I'm like, well, how do I know? And next thing I know, George Lopez, the comedian, shows up and he sits at the booth. And then like 10 minutes later, Slash shows up. And, you know, the Ace had George come up and intro the encore and intro and have call Slash up to the stage, and they did Cold Gin with Slash. So that was cool. So I have been able to see something small and intimate like that. So that's kind of cool. Yeah, the artists are real people at those small clubs. Absolutely, it was it was neat. Also, the other funny thing was the Viper Room is so small that if they need to tune guitars, they need to go outside. So they open the door.
Wow.
Guitar tech goes out, would tune Ace's guitars or Derek Hawkins, who was playing with him at the time. He would come back in and then hand the hand the guitars over to them. But that was kind of cool.
Yeah, I can't blame you. I would, even if it wasn't to see Ace, it would still be cool to see like a show at the Viper Room.
Yeah. Yep.
You know,
Absolutely.
seeing all these places, it'd just be like, oh, I got to see a show here. I don't care who it is.
Let's see a band in their prime. Band in their prime. I mean, Iron Maiden with Paul Di'Anno for me. Seeing Ozzy with Randy Rhoads. Seeing not Quiet Riot. Seeing Motley Crue during Shout at the Devil. Seeing Iron Maiden during the Power Slave tour, maybe. Kiss in the mid 70s or even early 70s, like some of that footage of them, just all the energy and all the hunger that was there that they needed to prove themselves. You know, I love looking at that stuff, and it's so cool. I'd also love to see them during the Creatures of the Night tour because that's my all-time favorite album. So, Jeremy saw Aerosmith in their prime on the Pump tour. Jeremy, I don't know if you're baiting me with that one. I listen, I like Pump, but I would say that Aerosmith's prime, to me, in my opinion, is like Aerosmith rocks. Personally, you know, it's something mid 70s to me would be their prime. I would actually love to see, you know, AC/DC with Bon Scott, just because of all the hoopla, you know, and everything that was surrounding, you know, what a big deal Bon Scott was. I almost got to see Pantera. Speaking of Sacred Reich, which I talked about earlier. So we were comped tickets at the college radio station we were at to see Pantera and Sacred Reich opening up at the Roseland in New York. And we get there, it was 3 of us, and there were only 2 tickets. And we're like, well, we're supposed to have 4. Supposed to be 2 for the manager of the metal department, and 2 for me, who was the assistant, who was actually the one in contact with their label. But anyway, so we're at the door, and I'm like, yeah, we're not going to go in. And like the third person that was there with us, who we knew, but we weren't really familiar with him. You know, he worked at the station with us. He stopped in every now and then. And he was like, no, you know, you guys go in. And we're like, yeah, what are we going to do? Just leave you here on the street corner to wait until the show's over? No, I'll get a cab back to Randolph. I'm like, yeah, and it'll cost you like $100 to get back. I'm like, let's just fucking call it a day, you know. Let's just go home. If you guys want, we'll stop at a diner on the way home, but that's about it. But
what album was that on?
That was Cowboys from Hell and Sacred Reich Independent, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. Yeah, it was 91. So Vulgar hadn't come out yet.
I saw Pantera on the Vulgar Display of Power tour. So I
Okay.
kind of saw them like slightly before they really took off.
Right.
So that was cool.
Right.
It
Before
was
they were.
it was Skid Row,
Right.
Pantera, and Ace Frehley.
Oh, okay. and that was right before Phil was too screwed up to.
Yeah, he could
A
still
lot
sing
of
like a mofo.
Yeah, absolutely. So Jeremy's saying he saw Dio in his prime. Thin Lizzy with Phil. Thin Lizzy with Phil would be something absolutely amazing to see. I tell you what, Thin Lizzy with Phil, and I know for some people this is going to be blasphemous, but with John Sykes. To me, that Thunder and Lightning album, I think it's called, to me is probably their heaviest album and probably the one that I like the most. And yeah, Jeremy, Independent by Sacred Reich. I have, and the Metal Dentist Gabriel also has, because we got 2 copies at the station. Gave one to him, and I kept the other one. Signed autographed copies of that on vinyl when it wasn't available on vinyl. It only went out to radio stations on vinyl. They didn't sell it. So, so you got to see Sykes with Thin Lizzy. All right, well, you're a better man than me, Jeremy. I used
Jeremy
to work.
bringing the heat instead of Brad this time with the crazy like metal stuff.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So my brother Art is saying that he got to see AC/DC Heatseeker. Great show. It's technically blow up your video, but violent as hell, people being carried out all over the place. Yeah, I remember. I think that there were cars overturned at that, possibly, and at the. I know there was an Iron Maiden show. It was supposed to. Well, my friends went to go see Anthrax and Iron Maiden at the same venue, and they were going to get tickets for me to go as well. And due to the AC/DC and Iron Maiden shows, I was not permitted to go see that Anthrax and Iron Maiden. So
I think the most violent concert I ever saw was the first Ozfest,
okay,
and that was when I was at Giant Stadium.
okay,
That was the very first one, and the way it was set, the floor was just general admission, so a
hmm
football stadium size general admission, and I was up in the stand somewhere at the opposite end of the stage, but that was perfect because at that venue they had the second stage was still inside the venue, so like there was just nonstop music all day.
right,
Like you didn't have to go to like another part of the arena or something to see the second stage. So it really was cool just to see that stuff. But Pantera came on and they started playing a new level,
hmm
and you just see people like coming down from like the stands, like just down, jumping down to the field.
hmm
And from that, like the last row in the bowl to like the floor is probably a 10 to 15-foot drop, and
yeah,
people are just
yeah,
doing it. They're just jumping and like hoping for the best, and like a couple people did it, a couple people didn't make it. And just like it was almost like a joke that like there was just like these bodies piling up, and I'm just like, why are people still jumping? you know but yet Pantera kept like blowing through their set, and just I'll never forget the waterfall. Like it looked like a waterfall of people just like pouring down to jump down and like just crashing and burning. I was like, why aren't they stopping?
And the other thing too, that at Giant Stadium it was AstroTurf, so that's like jumping on the concrete from 10 to 15 feet up. There's no giving that. It's not grass. So
No. And
you
just
know,
not even aiming for like, oh, I'm gonna jump on like a merch truck and like you know break my fall and like hop down on that and then down to the ground. They were just
right.
jumping from that, and I was just like, oh.
To quote Jim Ross, they were jumping into the pool with no water.
Exactly. So
So
you're gonna say somebody stop the damn match.
yeah. There you go.
With God as my witness, he's broken in half.
There you go.
You could easily overdub Jim Ross commentary to that moment.
That's great.
Guy's got a family. Just a guy.
Jeremy, to answer you, a lot of the shows that we're talking about are more or less from the same venues. They're and not even the same venues, because they were all in the same like complex. The Giant Stadium, the arena were all, it was all part of the same complex. There was a parking lot dividing them, and there was a highway between them, but there was a bridge you can go over. So they would make you park at the, if there was a concert at the at Giant Stadium, you would park at the arena, and vice versa. The people that would park next to the stadium where the event was taking place were people that had VIP parking. So, and I mean, being in that area, there were a ton of clubs and a ton of different things that that people would go to. I mean, I know people that would go to shows every weekend, like literally, like they would go into the city and go to CBGB's every weekend, go to Roseland, go to, the Limelight when that was open, so they would be catching bands that that we didn't even know of, because they were small bands, but they were going in to see them. So there was always something to see.
Yeah. I very seldomly went into the city for to a small venue for a show.
Right.
Here or there, but I mean, going to Madison Square Garden was a piece of cake from New Jersey. You take the NJ Transit right under the garden.
Right. Yeah. Trains underneath, and that's it.
Yeah.
Just go up
I did make every so often you get that stupid bug up your ass that you're like, you know what, I'm gonna drive in this time. And it's like, why did I do this? It takes you an hour longer to get in, and then $50 after for parking, and that was years ago.
Right. Well,
I was like, why do I do this to myself?
Hunka Bunka's Ballroom is the Starland now. But yeah, well,
that.
actually, before it was called the Starland.
No, I feel like this is just my memory. I know it's not the same place, but I feel like the Birch Hill closed and then Starland opened. I know it's two different locations, but
I believe that there were a few years between both. I'm not sure. Hunka Bunka's was, always advertised on Z100 and on Hot 97 and stuff like that. This weekend at Hunka Bunka's, we have pajama party with the Cover Girls, and it was all pop music or freestyle.
Totally not even ringing a bell at all.
Well, since we listened to a little of everything, we would always flip flop onto all these other stations as well in the area. I mean,
but not even in passing. Hunka Bunka doesn't even ring any bells whatsoever.
It was the Starland was Hunka Bunka's for a good part of the 80s and part of the 90s. It didn't become Starland until late 90s, early 2000s, I think.
Yeah.
And before it was Hunka Bunka's, it was called something else. I don't remember the name. But in Randolph, you had Obsessions. Which was the Final Exam before that. And then since Obsession. Yeah.
That I didn't remember.
Yep. Since Obsessions, it's gone through 4 or 5 other names.
Mm-hmm. It's been Vegas, New Jersey for quite a few years now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Do they have shows or stuff there or no?
No, it's like a wedding venue place now, or like an event place.
Okay.
And it's really expensive. I remember a couple years ago now, we were looking for places to have our high school reunion.
Right.
just happened to look there, and it was around the same time my wife and I were looking at wedding venues.
Mm-hmm.
We checked there, and it was way more than we wanted to pay, like $180 a plate or something.
Right.
I was like, no, nope,
Yeah.
not for us. So I don't even know what it is now, but yeah, but
I'm
yeah, it's
sure.
definitely not a nightclub anymore. So somewhere Ministry's New World Order has to play somewhere else, I guess.
Well, the Wellmont in Montclair is where a lot of these people are going to as well,
Yeah,
because that's the Ministry's gone the last few times, and that's, I mean, I've never been there, but that's what, like an old theater, I believe.
yeah, yeah. It's a pretty cool venue.
Okay, so you've been
It's
there.
yeah, I've seen a few shows there. I've also been there for what is it? It's Weird New Jersey, like flea market.
Oh, okay.
Like the magazine does,
Yep.
like, they haven't done it in a while, but they used to do a flea market there.
Mm-hmm.
I just had different vendors, and I had some friends vend there that I went to see them there. And it's a cool place. Parking's a real pain in the ass, though.
Right. Okay. Yeah, Montclair isn't exactly the friendliest place to park, because I remember I would go to a record shop there. I forget the name of it now, but we'd have to park like I don't know how many blocks away and walk.
Yeah.
I finally figured out that there was like 2 blocks behind this like ShopRite that in itself was like 4 blocks away. Like if you went to that block behind the ShopRite, there was always parking there. So it would be like a 6-block walk to the store. But
Right. And uphill.
and uphill. There you go. Yes, with
Because
ice.
at least that area of Montclair, like where the Wellmont is and stuff, that's just on a hill.
Right.
You know, it just seems like a very like mixed bag of stuff.
Right.
You know, pretty much if you want something, just go to Montclair, like in that section, and there's a store of it of some sort.
Yeah, I haven't been to Montclair probably in close to 20 years, so I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, it's been a number of years for me too. You know, it's not exactly the closest thing, and there's really not like a lot going on except for the Wellmont if I go for something.
Right.
And yeah, it's just at this point I really don't go to a lot of shows, and
Right.
you know, it's been that way for a few years. Like it really takes like a band that I really love that I'll be like,
Mhm.
all right, I'll go out.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, the last show that I think we got to see was and I want to say 3 years ago, 4 years ago maybe at this point, was the Cavalera Brothers. They were playing Roots in its entirety. And it just so happened that my folks were here, so that you know my kids could actually stay with someone at that point in time. Like now we're all right. Well, we were looking at taking them to go see Bad Religion and Suicidal Tendencies in the spring of next year, but I don't know if that's going to be canceled or not, or what the story is there. But
I think that was the one you were talking to Mark about, right?
yeah. Because at that
Yeah.
time they were saying that you're going to have to do the PCR tests, and you know, a PCR test costs $70 a pop, and then you know there's the whole wariness. They're starting to talk about vaccinating 5 to 11 years old, possibly in like 2 months. So I mean, I think we would definitely wait until they were vaccinated before doing anything like that. So Jeremy, yeah, the question is, because Jeremy's gone to quite a few shows. I mean, he's gone to a lot of different festivals in the UK, like Download and Bloodstock and stuff like that. What are some of the venues that you've been to, Jeremy? See if Jeremy hasn't put on Jamie's Got a Gun and turned it up to 11 to to drown our negative Aerosmith comments out. There you go. All right, he's back. It's in between songs. It's in between Monkey on My Back and Janie's Got a Gun. Loads of venues: Manchester, Liverpool, London. But I think Jeremy established that Manchester's the closest to him. He's in Norwich, I believe, or close to it, if I remember correctly. And but London has to be several hours away, I believe. Let's see. I'm doing a reverse of what Jeremy did to me the other day, where he says, "Hey, is this show close to you?" And I said, "Well, it's in the same country." Northwich, not Norwich. All right. My bad. Yeah, Glastonbury. Have you been to Glastonbury? He's been to, was it Leeds or Reading? I forget, because that's where he saw Royal Blood, I believe.
Been to Reading, Pennsylvania, if that counts.
I've been there too, actually. But no, the Reading Festival. Northwich. Okay. So I have it set to walking because of all of the recent.
No wonder you think everything's hours away from him.
Yeah. All right. So walking from Northwich to London is 57 hours, but if we take a car there, it's 3 hours and change. But yeah, man. Wow. So Jeremy has Liverpool and Manchester close, Stoke-on-Trent, which is where I believe David Bowie, Lemmy, and Slash are from there, if I'm not mistaken. Sheffield, which is where Def Leppard is from, isn't that far either. And Leeds seems to be pretty close. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff. And also a Crew. Okay, so I see Crew as well on the map. So cool. Jeremy's got a lot of different things that he can check out. So Jeremy, just to give you an idea, and actually Blackpool isn't that far either. But I guess Blackpool is more known for the beach resorts and stuff. Buckley in Wales. Okay. Have you ever seen any shows like in okay, so you're saying that you've seen that in Wales, but have you ever seen shows in Scotland or anywhere else in the UK?
What's the furthest you've driven to a concert, Victor? States or in Spain?
It would be here because in the States, I mean, well, that Ace Frehley show was in LA, so that's the farthest I've traveled from home to that
wasn't your reason for going, though. I guess I should have been more specific. Well, maybe it was.
Okay. So we went to, way back when, we went to see Motley Crue in a city called, in Spanish it's pronounced Zaragoza. For the English speaking crowd, it's Zaragoza. That was at that point in time, because there wasn't a highway to get all the way there. It was like 5 hours and something to get there. I've driven to Madrid several times for festivals. That's like 4.5 hours away. When I saw Priest with Testament and Megadeth, that was like 3 hours away. So I mean, where we are, where I am, if you're lucky, shows will come to like Bilbao, which is like about an hour away, if you're lucky. And there are certain bands that, because they have a lot of fans there, or they've had good experiences there, they'll come back. Again, going back to the Sacred Reich interview, Phil told me that they want to go back to Bilbao because they said the crowd was insane. That it was one of the best shows that they had played in the entire tour. So, and he said that it felt like an old school crowd. So,
Okay.
Jeremy, you went, did you go to university at Newcastle? I forget. You mentioned it once that you had gone to university. It was kind of farther away from where you are now. Yes, the first time I will say the first time that I saw Motorhead was the Iron Fist video. Oh, Steve dropped out. The Iron Fist video where I didn't get them. They weren't playing the young ones on MTV yet. But I didn't get Motorhead at all. And I was into like Kiss and Motley Crue and Quiet Riot and stuff like that. And Lemmy singing up and the gravelly vocals just was not my thing. And I didn't understand why D. Snyder was giving him so much props. Years later, come to find out why exactly that is. But then seeing Motorhead on the young ones, by the time they were on the young ones, or by the time I got to see them on the young ones, I appreciated Motorhead. So to me, that was a big deal. But yeah, the young ones had Madness, had Motorhead, and there's a third band that I knew that was on there. San Mames, you get AC/DC, for example. Guns N' Roses played there as well. But usually there's several venues in Bilbao. There's one called Choki, which is like in the center of Bilbao, which I've seen a few shows there. I was invited to watch a show from the stage at one point there. Who else? And there's another, the show that I saw with the Cavalera brothers. I got to see them. I saw Airborne on a different occasion, Bonded by Blood and Lazarus AD on a different occasion as well at a club called Santana 27. And that's more or less a warehouse, a huge warehouse that's sectioned off by curtains. And depending on who's playing, they either play in one quote unquote room or another. Every time that I've been there, for the most part, it was in the smaller like rooms. And it was kind of cool because it was like 100, 200, 300 people crammed into this small room. So it was a hot, sweaty situation. It was kind of neat. But then when I saw Airborne there and when I saw the Cavalera brothers there, they opened the entire place up. So it fit, I don't know, like 2,000 people in there or something like that, I would imagine. So let's see. Oh, boy. Well, if it's any consolation, all of that old footage is on YouTube now. If that was one of the VHS tapes that I recorded over your old footage from here until the day that I am 6 feet under, I will be reminded of recording Dragnet, World Cup Soccer, and I forget what over Metal Mania and over a B-52 special. So Had I have realized what what I was getting into, or that other videotapes were available, obviously it wouldn't have been what I would have done. So. Jeremy saying he once saw a band, Amazing Metal. There were only 5 in the room. No, I'm saying you could watch all that stuff now on YouTube, not back then. I get it. YouTube was not available. The internet wasn't available.
I don't think I've ever been to a show with just 5 people. There, I've been to some low attended shows before, but never 5.
I want to think that I've seen local bands with just like friends of the band there. I've seen that happen.
Mm-hmm.
And said, "Oh, this is an amazing show. Why don't more people come out?" But unfortunately, the area that we're from isn't a rock area. Spain in general isn't a rock country, so it's unfortunate that for them to get a crowd, they would have to go to a big city. But
I think the smallest I ever saw was like 20 people.
Okay.
Possibly.
And who would have that?
Was it was, I don't know if you've ever seen the show Ace of Cakes.
I think so.
With
Where
Jeff Goldman.
The host has a bakery in New Jersey, right?
No, that's Cake Boss.
Okay, so I'm mixing the two up. My bad.
Yeah. No, it's another one, but one of his cake designers, she played bass in a band called the Squawks, and
Okay.
they were playing at the Saint, and I was like, oh, cool. Maybe I'll get to meet her.
Right.
So that would be cool. But I was thinking like, oh, Ace of Cakes is a pretty big show. This is going to be like a crowded show.
Right.
And there was like 10 people there, 20 people. So it wasn't hard to meet her.
I was going to say, well, then in this case, I hope you got to meet her.
Yeah, and that it just seemed it was awkward. I mean, I'm awkward anyway, but then like when there's not like a crowd or anything, it's just like,
right.
Hey.
Yeah.
So that was probably the least attended thing I've ever been to, where it's you almost don't know what to do because obviously whoever's on stage, they're looking out and they're looking at you.
Right.
It's not like they're not looking at me. There's like a sea of other people they could be concentrating on. So it's like, all right, I don't want to be rude and like not pay attention to them. So it's like, what do I do with my hands?
Right.
This person's gonna see if I'm not into it. They're gonna be like, ew, kill him.
Yeah. Yeah. They around here, it's usually, hey, move up to the front of the stage. We can't see you guys back there. That type of a deal.
Yeah.
Or, hey, we don't bite. So I've been in those kind of a situations where, all right, there's 50 or 100 people in the club, but they're in the back by the bar. They're not up in front of the stage, So in any event, we're going to start to wrap things up here. Any parting words, Mr. Hoeker?
The usual, be good to one another, and just be good. We need that.
Awesome. So on that note, I want to thank Jeremy. I want to thank Jose. I want to thank Art, who are all in the chat tonight. And I don't know if I'm missing anyone. Oh, Johan was here for a second. Johan did mention that he gets up at 5:30 in the morning to work. So it's hard for him to be up until midnight. But I appreciate that he did. He was able to show up and say hi for a little bit there and let us know that he did get to see Nirvana back in '92, which is awesome. So
that would be very cool.
There you go. Yeah, my brother went to the Music Den. So
you went to the new one?
Yeah, we've been talking about instruments all week. So
I thought your brother lived in Florida for some reason.
No.
Okay.
He
Cool.
he lives in Chester, actually.
Oh, all right, perfect.
So yeah. So
Not as close as we used to live to one another, but that's still pretty close.
yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
So in any event, thank all you guys for being here. As I always say, I appreciate you guys deciding to spend Fridays with me live. I appreciate all of you that listen to this back for the replay or watch the replay up on YouTube. Remember, go to MarsAttacksRadio.com for your one-stop shopping for links to all the social media platforms, to where you can subscribe to the show or the live stream, to find out about yeah, there you go. He works for a company in Florida.
Okay.
So that's where the Florida bit probably came in. But anyway,
Yeah.
So yeah, go to MarsAttacksRadio.com and you'll find everything. We have Jeremy asked me to mention this. We have next Wednesday Samuel from the Swedish band Manimal coming up. That will be 1 hour sooner than usual, if I'm not mistaken. I have to recheck the schedule on that. And next Friday, we have Drew Fortier, author, director, and guitarist, whose band I featured during today's new releases, The Lucid, which also features Vinny Dombrowski of Sponge, Mike Heller of Fear Factory and Raven, and David Ellefson, formerly of Megadeth, is in that band. And a really cool album. I've listened to it a few times today, and it's really a mix of like 90s alternative rock with just like heavier hard rock stuff. It's really neat. So Jose, enjoy your tortilla. Hopefully it comes out well. So that is it, folks. Thanks once again, and we will see you next time right here on the Signals from Mars live stream, brought to you by the Mars Attacks podcast and VMRIT web design and audio editing. See you, folks. I should learn by now that I should have the video queued up before I say goodbye. Now,
Again.
there you go. See you for real.